Needed that.
Welcome in. It is episode number 17, a quick one for you as we cap off another holiday weekend here on C0ner Sports Radio. We will go over the bowl games we picked last week. We will go over the sports book. We will dip into the transfer portal, and we will give you our locks of the week before we get out of here on this quick episode here this weekend. Joining me, as always, Mr. Murphy. How are you this evening?
Yes, sir. Feeling golden. How are you, bro?
I am feeling just dandy. So let's just hop right into this. Let's just get into the meat and potatoes of this whole entire thing here. So, bowl games over the weekend. We had some picks. So, obviously, I already put Kansas State and Alabama as one of our picks this week because we talked about it last week and we made our picks there, and I don't think anything has changed except for maybe the amount of money that Cole wants to put on this pick because we did not do well in our sports book bowl game spreads, which are kind of combining those two topics as you see them over there on your right hand side. So let's go over the obvious ones. So Wisconsin, we both picked Wisconsin to beat Oklahoma State. They got the job done. It was kind of an easy win for them. Garrett Rangel was taking snaps for the Cowboys. But, you know, like many of the games this season, the Cowboys hung in there and only lost this game by 7, but the spread was only 2.5 in favor of Wisconsin. So they covered, and we get that W. What was your takeaway from the Badgers in this bowl game against Oklahoma State?
Pretty much what I expected from as soon as I found out Garrett Rangel was the quarterback for the Cowboys. That's exactly what I expected, and they actually almost came back like towards the end and barely lost. But where they lost, I mean, pretty much the Badgers had control of it the whole game, and they were up, and it was like 17 to 3, and then 10, and then they scored again, and so just a lot of back and forth. But I mean, the Badgers pretty much had the ball. They just had a better offense from what I saw. Their offense was just moving the ball and obviously getting more points throughout the whole game. So I just think the Wisconsin played a better game. But I mean, OSU, of course, been doing all year, tried to find a way to sneak back, but couldn't get it done. So hats off to the Badgers, good bowl win, and sorry for the Cowboys. I feel like if Spencer Sanders played, I think the Cowboys would have won that game, and I would have definitely told you. I actually remember how I had OSU until you told me Rangel was quarterback. So I think if Sanders was behind that ball, I think OSU would have scored a lot more points and won that one there. So tough loss, but we'll get them next year, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of key players down for the Pokes. We kind of expected it to be not a blowout, but we expected them to lose this game. And like you said, I mean, like many of the games this year, the defense kept them in this game, even without even without 3 of their best players starting on defense. That defense was good enough to stop what was left of that Wisconsin offense because both those teams had tons of transfers that left. So a lot of new, fresh, young faces were getting some run, and it was exactly kind of what we expected. A close, ugly game where it really seemed like Wisconsin had, like you said, control of this game from beginning to end, but you know, in the end, Garrett Rangel just isn't that guy, and and you saw plain and simple why. So we got that pick right, so we can pat ourselves on the back. Moving on to the next one, we both picked the Oregon Ducks here, and I wouldn't have been so mad, but the spread was 9.5, and I just and I said it was kind of big last week, but I went with my Ducks because I'm a homer. And I can't help myself. And what happened? Drake May came out there, and it was 21-10 in the first half. UNC was out there, but then my defense stepped up and only held UNC to 2 field goals. And then Bo Nix leads the team down the field with a late score with 3 minutes to go, and Oregon wins that game by 1, 28-27, in a shootout in the San Diego County Credit Union Holiday Bowl.
Nice.
What are your thoughts on Drake May? He throws for only 206 yards. Bucky Irving, the running back for Oregon, he gets 149 yards on the ground for my Ducks. A lot of players, like I said, gone on both sides of the ball, but the main guys were there for both of these teams, and this one ended up being a nail biter.
Yeah, I'm glad to see your Ducks got the win. Obviously, but I mean, they should have scored way more points. Only winning by 1 to North Carolina with Drake May only throwing 207 or whatever it was.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
Your
206, yeah.
206. So like your Ducks should have put it on, with especially in not of holding him to that many passing yards. He definitely y'all should have at least had 40 points. You should have at least should have been at least 42 to 28. So I mean, good win, but in nice little bowl win, of course. But y'all should have won by way more and covered that spread. That's why I picked the spread because I swore y'all had that spread covered.
Yeah, I really thought the same thing. I mean, especially as bad as North Carolina's defense has been in some of these games,
Honestly,
losing to Virginia, losing to NC State. I mean, losing to teams that you probably shouldn't have lost to. It happened. But hey, can't have a Duck season without having a couple nail biters. And like you said, it's a win, and you'll take the bowl game win, but it just wasn't as impressive as it probably could have been.
yeah,
Let's move on to a game that was very impressive. Arkansas and Kansas. This game was a fucking dandy. Um,
man,
Arkansas jumped out early, jumped out on top, and then with less than 3 minutes to go, Kansas and Jalen Daniels get 2 touchdowns, get an onside kick, they recover it, send it into overtime, and then we went past double overtime, and that's when I knew that the spread was blown because at that point you can only go for 2, so whoever wins is going to only win by 2.
yep,
So congrats to you for pulling that out of your hat. You picked Kansas State to cover the 4.5, they got it done.
man,
Or you picked Kansas to cover the 4.5, and they got it done. I picked on the other side of this, and I felt pretty good with 3 minutes to go.
yeah,
And the Hogs just kind of blew this one. What was your takeaway from this game? I mean, huge win for Arkansas. They get the win. Arkansas gets the
yeah,
win, 55-53, but it wasn't without Kansas putting up one hell of a fight.
yeah. I mean, I remember last week how long I was debating that, and I wanted to go with the Arkansas, and then I kept going back and forth. So I mean, I knew this one was going to be close, man. I knew Kansas was. I did not see that comeback coming at all. By the way, I did not see that coming at all. As soon as they were down by a couple touchdowns, I was like, "Yep, there goes Kansas, Kansas fashion." But I mean, those guys really stepped up, at least offensively, and pretty much what I expected. So I mean, I'm glad I got that covered, and lucky guess, I guess. But I mean, that was a great game. Arkansas, pretty much what we expected. I mean, obviously got the job done, but that's embarrassing that you let Kansas come back that many points that late and then take you guys to overtime. So I mean, it's kind of an embarrassing win for Arkansas, but I mean, hats off to Kansas. I mean, they played a great game and at least tried to step up for the Big 12. I mean, Big 12's been ass in bowl games so far. This bowl holiday, excuse me.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah, Big 12's been ass. So thankfully, good job Kansas trying to step up. But you guys, closest ones. Looks like Tech is the only Big 12 team so far.
Yeah, Tech is the only Big 12 team beating Ole Miss 42-25. We didn't even discuss
Uh,
that game, but that was a good game for the Big 12, and even though Jackson Dart throws for 361 yards against Texas Tech, it wasn't enough to get it done because Tyler Shuck, the former Oregon Duck, he he didn't only pass for 200 yards, he ran for 111. So
damn.
he had 300 total yards of offense running and throwing the football and looked like a decent quarterback. Which and when he played for Oregon, as the backup, I thought he was okay. But when he
Yeah.
transferred to Tech and lost the starting job, I was like, maybe he's trash. But I think it
Yeah.
just takes some time to really these young guys. I mean, they transfer super quick. They want playing time, and then you have to go through developing chemistry with your wide receivers, a whole new playbook. And I think that he finally got kind of the grasp of that stuff towards the end of the season. And I think you see the results right there, which is a good offensive game for him and a good 17-point win for Texas Tech. So that's all I got to really say about that game.
Texas Tech has been solid all year
Yeah,
this year, and they've always been keeping it close. And they don't have a bad team. They're pretty decent down there in Lubbock. So I mean,
they
hats
played
off to
they,
Texas
they
Tech.
they won games with 3 different quarterbacks this season.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
and
they
their
won with
defense stepped up a bunch of different times.
Yeah, I mean they won a game with Derek Smith back there, quarterback against Texas. They won one with the Morton kid back there, and they've won one with Tyler Shuck back there. So I think Texas Tech is going to have a very interesting offseason with that quarterback battle. And I would not be surprised if we see multiple quarterbacks down there in Lubbock next season as well. Um,
And maybe
so
some in the portal as well because they didn't
yeah,
get the starting job.
yeah, that's definitely a developing situation. We'll dip into that here in a second. So let's go through the next game. This one was a dandy as well. Washington and Texas. Washington kind of jumped on Texas
Yeah.
early. It kind of looked like all Huskies. I did pick the Huskies to win this game. You went with the Horns. You thought it was just going to be too much Texas, and for a second you had me there. And in the end, it was just Quinn Ewers wasn't that guy. He couldn't put enough arm on the ball. Texas couldn't catch a break late. And Michael Penix Jr., even though Ewers throws for almost 370 yards, he looked like the better quarterback. I mean, what was your takeaway from Washington getting this win in the Animal Bowl and just kind of almost blowing it, but not blowing it?
Somebody should have slapped me when I picked Texas. I don't know why I had so much faith in Texas. I knew Quinn Ewers wasn't that guy. I mean, he's a great guy, quarterback.
But 370 is no slouch. That's a record for a freshman quarterback in a bowl game in Texas
Yeah,
football history. So it was a good
it's no
stat
slouch.
line, but that wasn't
But
enough. Yeah, you're right.
when you don't get the win, it's irrelevant. So you could pass
Yeah.
for 500 when you don't lead your team to a win as a quarterback. It becomes irrelevant after that, just because you're wanting to win. You don't walk off and like, oh, how many passing yards? It's like no one really
Yeah,
cares what
no,
they.
I get that.
So,
Yeah, well
but
the other thing is though
good win. I
is
mean, I think Wisconsin played or no, sorry. I think the Huskies played of Washington played good offense and obviously good enough to win, and defense obviously got beat a few times, and Texas of course scored some points, but I mean, it was a pretty evenly matched game from what I was seeing.
yeah, it didn't look like one of these teams was super better than the other one. It was just the Huskies controlled the ball more, and that's just
Yep.
kind of what you saw. And I was going to bring this up is without Bijan Robinson and Roshan Johnson, your top two running backs, the Huskies knew that they were going to have to lean on Quinn Ewers to throw the football. So I think
Yeah.
that going into the game, you're like, okay, well, Texas is going to have to throw the ball to be successful. And
Which he can.
Xavier Worthy, bless his heart, had 2 touchdowns,
Hmm.
just wide open, just fall right through his hands.
Oh,
And for a guy that's supposed to be a Bolitnikoff guy, for a guy
yeah.
last year
You don't
that
ever drop.
we were singing his praises about how like I mean he's super fast, but if you can but it
It's
doesn't
good hands
matter.
too.
It doesn't matter if you can run a 4.340 if you can't fucking catch. Especially when the ball is on
He
the
dropped
money.
it right through his hands.
Yeah, like it was a perfect over the
Wow.
shoulder Quinn Ewers. He had both safeties beat. He looks behind him to catch the ball. It hits both of his hands. He's not
Wow.
even diving for it, and it just
I
slips
didn't
right
see
through his
that play.
fingers. It was just so rough to watch because that right there would have tied it up at that time.
Damn, that's embarrassing.
And sure, it would have tied it up at I think 17 at the time or something, or would have tied it up at 20 at the time, and then instead they had to punt, and then Washington went up 27 uh, to 13, and then it was like okay, well Texas is gonna have to come back somehow, and or sorry 27-17, excuse me, and Texas drove down the field with under 2 minutes left, kicked the field goal because you at least had to have a field goal. So better to get the points now than and try to get the onside kick than go for it on 4th and 12 and try to get a touchdown and have no chance at all. So they kick the field goal to make it 20-27, don't get the onside kick, and then on 3rd and 6 or something like that, Michael Penix finds a guy on a curl route. First down, can just kneels the clock out, game over. So it was kind of, it was one of those things where if a couple breaks happened Texas's way, this thing could have been going into overtime. And they probably could have pulled it out, but that's just not the story that we're speaking of now. And good win for Washington and a great way to end your season. So,
Yeah, very much
um,
so. You can never drop passes like that. Being that high caliber receiver, you can't because that's a game changing play right there. So yeah, that's very embarrassing and something that obviously you can't ever do, being that high caliber.
yeah. Let's get on to another game here locally for us, Florida State and Oklahoma. So both of us picked Florida State here, and I thought going into this we had made the right decision. A lot of OU guys not playing. Dylan Gabriel was playing. No Marvin Mims though. I don't believe, at least not here in the stats. You had Marcus Major wasn't playing due to an injury. No Eric Gray because he's getting ready for the draft. Um, and so you had Javante Barnes back there starting for you at running back. You had Gavin Sawchuk back there getting some reps. So some decent freshmen getting some solid play, and lo and behold, OU hangs in this game to the very end. It's 25-25, then it's 32-32, and it came down to Florida State kicking a field goal with like 3.5 minutes to go, and Dylan Gabriel and company had the football and turn it over on downs or something. I mean, it came down to the wire. So OU covers this game. The spread was 7.5, and OU only loses by 3. What was your takeaway from this kind of second rate offense of OU hanging in there with a team that had much more talent available to them?
So I only saw the highlights from this game, but my brother told me a lot about it. So I mean, having that many guys out definitely hurts. I think our offense would have at least been clicking a little more, and I think OU would have maybe scored that extra couple points to win. But I mean, Florida State's not that good. I mean, from what I saw, I mean, obviously that was a good matchup, but Florida State wasn't playing that good of football. I mean, they barely won, uh, and I should have taken OU to cover this, and I knew it was going to be close. But I obviously picked it was a 7.5, and I picked Florida State.
Yeah, we both did.
Yes, I should have picked OU to cover. I knew it was going to be a lot closer. I don't know why I didn't do that, but OU's defense, another thing. OU's defense sucked. Saw a bunch of guys getting beat on deep routes, corner routes. Like, just you can't have your DBs getting beat that bad and win a football game. So OU's defense terrible, but I also don't think Florida State played that good. So I think OU just blew it per the whole season. OU fashion for this season, just like blowing everything. So tough way to go out, but I don't really care that we don't have the Cheez It Bowl. That's not really. I'm not really too mad about that one.
Yeah, not
But
not not a lot of
good job,
sour
Nate.
grapes.
Congratulations. Y'all did not play that good of a game. So
It's true. Um, all right. So let's get into this. Those were kind of the games that we talked about last week. Other games happening tonight. We had
emphasis, my bad. Emphasis on OU's defense sucks.
Yeah, big time. So the games tonight that we had, Tennessee beat Clemson 31-14. Both of us kind of saw this coming a couple weeks ago. We kind of said, this is kind of Tennessee's game to lose. Pitt upsets UCLA and beats them 37-35. That was kind of a shocker. I had UCLA winning that one. Notre Dame and South Carolina. I had South Carolina winning this one, but Notre Dame gets the win 45-38.
Did I pick Notre Dame?
That I do not know.
Okay, because I don't remember
That
who
that
I
would
picked.
be for you to look on your picks against the spread because we didn't really talk about that one.
Okay.
Um, and then Maryland, they get the win over NC State 16-12. We didn't really talk about that game either. And then in overtime, it was Ohio getting the win over Wyoming 30-27. Those were kind of the games today. Really, the only notables were kind of the Notre Dame game and the Tennessee game, but none of those really surprised us. We knew those games were kind of going to lean the way they leaned. I was leaning more heavily towards South Carolina than I probably should have, but that's just because I didn't believe Notre Dame's quarterback play was going to be decent, and it was rocky, as it has been all season for the Irishmen tonight. So I kind of had that on the money, but just not enough juice for this South Carolina defense. They were unable to stop Notre Dame, and even though Spencer Rattler had a good game, Tyler Buckner throws for 274 yards for Notre Dame and gets the win for the Irish. So that was kind of the headlines there. So let's.
Well, I am not coming back with good news.
Uh-oh.
I picked UCLA to cover, and took an L there, so that's 0 for 1. And I picked your good old Gamecocks to win, and
Yep.
cover the 4.5, and I took an L on that. So
Yep.
0-2.
Yeah, not ideal. Um oh. What happened? What just happened? Uh-oh. The whole entire thing just crashed. Okay. Um
Looks like I got disconnected.
yeah, there we go. We're back. All right.
But I'm back. But I'm back.
Um okay. So, like I was saying, yeah, both of us picked those games, so neither of us looking good on that front. Let's go ahead and talk about these games. So obviously, you're picking Alabama to cover the 4.5 tomorrow against Kansas State. Um,
What time is that game?
that game is going to be at 11 o'clock in the morning,
Let's
so you
go.
get to start your day off with that one. I'm sticking with my Kansas State pick. Um, how much do you want to put? You have 165 to work with. I have 260 to work with after last week. Both of us lost significant amount of money. Um, you lost
Go
70,
ahead and drop 65 for me, sir.
65 right there. Okay, so you got 100, and you want 25 all the way down on the rest of them.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
5 all the way down, and I'm gonna do 60. That one, do 200. So I'll put 50 on the rest of. Spread out all that moolah. Okay, so TCU Michigan. This spread been moving and shaking. Right
Yeah, I want to hear
now,
this. I
TCU
hear you.
plus 7.5. So they're giving Michigan a touchdown. They got to win by more than 7. So they got to win by like 8 to 10 points to cover. I'm going with the Horned Frogs. I'm picking them as my as getting to the national championship. I think this is the year that the Big 12 gets back into the championship mix. So I'm picking them to outduel the khakis. I think Michigan's going to come in thinking that they're the shit. I think they're going to come in thinking they're going to steamroll this team, and I just don't think they're going to do it. So, what are your thoughts? And who are you taking?
To everybody in Fort Worth, not my Horned Frog fans, I'm very sorry. Uh, I've been pretty much riding for y'all the whole year, and I really apologize when I say this, but give me the Wolverines. Uh,
Wolverines minus 7.5. All right.
yeah. Um, I just I don't have faith in them this week, just because I think they're playing a very high caliber team, and to be honest with you, I don't think they're ready. But I do apologize to all my Horned Frog fans. And I think Michigan's ready. I think Michigan wants to be in that national championship game, and I think they're going to show up tomorrow. And I think Jim Harbaugh is going to get everybody fired up too. So go Wolverines. And I hate to say that because I've been riding with TCU all year, but I'm just trying to be realistic.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, I'm just pulling, and I think that if TCU loses by 3, I'm still right. So I mean, it's one of those where I think Michigan is the better team, but I think that a closer win is more likely considering how many close games TCU's been in this season. I think
Yeah.
having them try to win by 8 or more points might be a lot to ask a Michigan offense to do that has been off and on. Now, when they played Illinois specifically, that was a low scoring game where Michigan escaped. They were running a 3-3-5 defense, Illinois was. And with the way Michigan plays, they were completely fine with taking those 4 yards a carry due to the fact that you only have 3 down linemen. Um, Now, if TCU decides to do that and go 3-3-5, what really happened was JJ McCarthy really struggled passing the football against 5 defensive backs. And that's
Mhm.
going to happen when you drop that extra lineman and give you an extra DB back there. You're gonna have better coverage against the pass. What concerns me is I don't know if TCU's front 7, as good as Dean as Winters has been their linebacker. I don't know if that's enough to stop Blake Corum in this offense. Now, we don't know how
Yeah.
healthy Blake Corum is going to be coming into this game. We know that he has been resting that injury. So
Mhm.
he's still kind of questionable coming in here. I think he will play because I think it is one of those things where it's going to be hard to keep a competitor like that off the field. But will he be at 100%? I don't think so. And I think that plays very well into TCU's hands when it comes to being able to run that 3-3-5 if they decide to do that. Um,
It's a
but
good
yeah,
point.
I think it. I think it'll be close. I think it'll
Point.
be a good game, and I'm glad that it's the first game that we'll get to see.
Yeah,
Um,
I think we're looking at about like a 35-17 victory for Michigan here, but that's just my opinion, and that's just how I feel. But I mean, I don't think TCU is a bad team. I just think uh, Michigan and how they ran the the Big Ten this year, with how Michigan ran the Big Ten this year. I just think they're more superior. I think they're going to put more points. I think their defense is going to stop TCU. I don't think TCU has seen a defense like this yet. And I don't think they're gonna. I don't think Max Duggan's gonna be able to chalk any big plays up. I think he's just gonna get a couple small touchdowns, and then they'll get a field goal. So I got like 35-17. I got Michigan in the national championship against Georgia, and you already know who I have winning. I have Georgia, of course.
yeah. So I'm guessing. But are you picking Georgia to win against Ohio State by more than 6 points?
Yes,
Okay. So let's
yes,
get that out of the way. So Georgia -6 on your second one, and
yep.
I'll go ahead and play spoiler here. I have Ohio State winning this game by double digits. No. Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. So hear me out. So everybody kind of thinks that like Ohio State's cooked, right? They're like, look, Michigan embarrassed you. You know, you got blown out on your home turf by your rival. Embarrassing. You didn't get to play in your conference title game. Embarrassing. And luckily for you, Caleb Williams gets hurt, and you find yourself getting into the position where you get to have a shot at a national championship. Now, I don't think Ryan Day and company are going to take this lightly, and Jim Knowles is going to be ready. If you remember when Jim Knowles was the defensive coordinator at Oklahoma State, whenever he had a bye week or had an extra week to prepare, OSU's defense played exceedingly well. And I think that that's going to be a huge factor is whether or not Jim Knowles took this extra couple weeks to get this defense
He,
exactly the way he wants it against Georgia.
he's been studying.
And that's problematic. I mean, when you give somebody like Jim Knowles time to study with the talent that Ohio State has on the defensive side of the football, which it's not, apex great, it's not fantastic, but Ohio State's offense is the most talented offense that Georgia is going to face this season. And that says a lot because Georgia played uh, um, a decent amount of teams um, that had, pretty decent offenses. Now I'm going to tell you which ones, and you might not be as impressed as some people might be, but you played Tennessee with a healthy Hooker at quarterback, and you won by 14. That was a big win. But really, who else stands out to you? Florida, no, not really an offensive juggernaut. Auburn, no, not really an offensive juggernaut. Kentucky hung in there, and you only beat Kentucky by 10 points. You think their offense is fantastic? I don't think so. What about Georgia Tech? You think Georgia Tech is great? No, garbage. What about LSU? Give them a chance, right? They beat Alabama. No, garbage. And so I really think that this is the most talented team offensively that Georgia has seen to date. And I think that that is going to cause this game to be a lot closer than Bulldog fans like. Could they win by 3? Yeah, they could win by 3. Could they win by 5? You could see them win by 5, 30 to 24 or something, win by 6 and cover. I could see it happening. But on the other end here, I'm looking at Ohio State and I'm going, look, CJ Stroud's got a chip on his shoulder. Should have probably won the Heisman statistically, right? But just wasn't flashy and didn't have kind of those Heisman moments that Caleb Williams had. And it was hard for us to argue even in his defense. I stuck with him because I picked him at the beginning of the season. I thought, hey, there's a slim chance, and I'm riding or dying with my pick, right? At the beginning of the year, you were all over, Bryce Young. You were all over, you know, um,
Caleb Williams.
yeah, I mean, you had him in your top 3, but he wasn't, riding or dying with you as much. I've got it right here. Let's see how it kind of evolved for you. Um,
I think
So
I had Bryce Young pretty
so
high for the first few
yeah,
weeks.
you had Williams at your 4 spot in week 10 because Hayden Hooker was playing so well for Tennessee. Bryce
Yeah.
Young and CJ Stroud were playing well. You had Hooker, Stroud, then Young as your 3. And as it evolved, once he got hurt week 13, let's look how it evolved. You had Stroud at 1, Williams at 2, and Corum at 3. And then Corum got hurt, and that kind of changed the way you thought about that. And so you see kind of where I'm going with. You've kind of cycled a little bit through. I stayed pretty consistent. With having Stroud at that top spot because statistically it was just kind of hard to argue against what he was doing. But my 2 and 3, I had Williams right behind him most of the second half of this season because it was just kind of hard to argue with the guy that throws 26 or 30 touchdowns and only throws 4 picks. I guess it's really hard to go against that kind of efficiency. Um, but I think he's got a chip on his shoulder because I think he did. I don't think he got snubbed, but I think that he's got to use that motivation to push him to play really well. I think that having that extra week for that defense is exceedingly great. It stinks that you won't have Jackson Smith and then Jigba because he's saying I'm sitting out and I'm getting ready for the draft. I'm not chancing getting hurt, which I kind of think is stupid because this is a playoff game and not like the fucking Rose
It's all
Bowl.
about it's all about money. He wants that money.
Yeah, I get it. He doesn't want to get hurt. He doesn't want to ruin his chance of being a round 1 wide receiver pick. I get it. I'm not going to argue against a guy trying to make his dreams come true. I'm just saying I've never seen a guy opt out of a game where your
Yeah,
team
sit out.
potentially has a chance to go to a
Yeah,
national championship.
yeah, yeah. It's a big game. Like, why are
Yeah.
you sitting out? It's a big game.
Yeah. So that means Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to have to be that guy.
Yeah,
Can he be that guy? Of course he can be that guy. He's only dropped 1 ball all season.
yeah,
So I think that but now I think Georgia knows that they might double cover him, and somebody else is going to have to step up. And Ohio State's got the players to do that, and I think that's where Georgia makes their mistake.
Fleming.
Is
Fleming is pretty good.
Yeah, they've got good players. So I think that if Georgia decides to focus on Marvin Harrison Jr., other players will make plays because this Ohio State offense is talented. And just because Michigan has one good game against Ohio State doesn't mean that Georgia is going to have a great game. They could win this game 16-6, and I think we'd be sitting here going, they covered. But I mean, was it impressive? No. I mean, I just think that
That's fair.
I think Ohio
That's fair
State's got
enough,
enough
bro.
firepower to hang in there, and I think
That's,
this game's going to be very uncomfortable for Georgia fans come that fourth quarter. I think they're going to only be up 3 late, and they might score again late, but I don't think that they're going to run away with this like a lot of people are thinking. I think 6 points is a lot. It's not
yeah,
impossible to see Georgia winning by 7 and winning 24-17 or something. I could see it, but I could also see Ohio State driving down the field and kicking a game winner while the
yeah.
game is tied. I could see that happening. Um, and I think that a
That's
lot of
fair enough, bro. That's fair enough. I like your speculation,
so I
but
mean,
I
and
mean,
that's why I'm going with both underdogs tomorrow. I know nobody else is really doing that. I
fair
don't
enough.
think it's realistic, but I'm rooting for both of them. And I think that if it happens, you might see Ohio State lifting that trophy in a couple weeks. But that's just my thoughts on that one. So let's go ahead and move on to a one that we've been talking about for months now.
I got 3 letters for
Oh God.
real quick. Just to add on, just a little,
Yeah, go
just a
ahead.
slight. It's just a slight piggyback off that game, Ohio State Georgia. Ready?
Yeah.
S
Oh God. No.
E. See, dude.
I
Hold
mean,
on, real quick. Let me piggyback. Georgia's defense is gonna be all over Marvin Harrison Jr. Their other defensive guys are gonna lock everybody else up. Ohio State's offense is not gonna get rolling. They're gonna bury CJ Stroud. Ohio State has not seen an SEC defense one time this year. They didn't make it to their conference championship. This is their bowl game. Like, they haven't played football in weeks. They're not ready. Georgia's ready. Georgia is the new Alabama from this year. Georgia's gonna win. Georgia's gonna be holding that trophy at the end of the year, and it's just facts. I mean, they're just a better team, and Georgia's has a lot more firepower. Stetson Bennett has got a chip on his shoulder because he wanted the Heisman too, but of course he didn't have the numbers. So he's gonna go and win the national championship again, and probably never play football again after this. So this was his last year to finally have fun. So Stetson Bennett's going to go crazy on offense, and then Georgia's number 1 defense is going to shut everybody else down. So, sorry, just a small
Yeah,
soapbox. I had to
I
get
mean,
into that real quick.
Marvin Harrison Jr. will be the guy. Emeka,
They're gonna double. They're
uh,
gonna double team him, like you
Emeka,
said, and he's gonna get locked down.
Emeka Ekbuka has 66 catches for 1,039 yards. So you have two wide receivers that have amassed over uh, 1,000 yards receiving. So you're going to
I'll
at least
give
have to pay attention to Egbuka a little bit. Julian Fleming has 29 catches for 462 yards, and the tight
good
end
too.
Cade Stover has 35 catches for 400 yards. So I mean, they have other options. It's just not having Jackson Smith and Njigba out there to stretch
It
that
does
field
hurt.
just a little bit
It does hurt.
does hurt. I'm not debating that, but don't focus too much on Marvin Harrison Jr. because someone else will burn your ass. I think
Like you
I
were
think they
saying,
know that. They know that.
like you were saying earlier, chase your dreams. But to me, and as much as I like this dude, Jackson Smith and Jigba, as much as I like and respect that dude, and think he was a heck of a football player, just from a 1-to-1 to him, if he ever hears this, bro, you're kind of pussy for that dude because you have a chance to go for your college that you chose to commit to. You have a chance to bring them home a national championship, a team who signed you and pay for your college, and they're bringing you to their school because they want you to win a national championship for them, and you're gonna sit out for the NFL. Come on, bro, that's just pussy to me. I would play in that, but I still respect the guy. I still think he's a heck of a player, and like you were saying, chase your dreams. But that's pussy to me, bro. You got to play in that game.
Yeah, I was shocked. I was shocked, and
It
that
could
was
raise his. It could if he played even half the game he had in the Rose Bowl last year. His draft stock will go higher.
yeah, especially against this defense. I think if he were
His
to
draft
show
stock will
out,
go
yeah,
higher.
and
His draft stock with more money.
it just I mean it to me like you said it kind of shows he's scared, right? He's either that or he thinks that there's no shot that they're going to win without him. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think that he thinks that he's like, hey guys, like it's Georgia, like come on, like they just won last year, like they're solid, like they're the best defense in college football. Like, bro, we can't hang. That's where I think his head's at, but I think he's a little bit of a pussy as well.
Mark my words, Ohio State's going to jump out on Georgia 14 to nothing. And then we're going to see what Georgia is made of. And could they come back from that? But I'm saying in the first quarter, I have Ohio
Okay.
State putting up 14 points, quick
You
ones.
think some early turnovers are about to happen?
Yeah, I would like to see Stetson Bennett throw a couple bad picks, or
Like
I'd
a
like to
bad
see,
pick,
or
like
a fumble, a nice fumble from the halfback. I think it could happen,
it can
but they're going
happen.
to need help. They're going to need help.
And then Ohio State could come out. But they're just not. At the end of the day, they're not going to be able to hang with Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna need like an OU versus USC collapse, right? Because going into that game, it was like OU's got this in the bag,
OU Alabama
and
collapse.
then like a muffed punt,
OU beat
and
Alabama
and
back
a
in
pick six
2014.
later. It was 21 to nothing. It was over. So I mean, I think that
You
there's
remember? You remember that? Was it my bad? You remember that game in OU Alabama 2014 when the OU won the Sugar Bowl and came back
yeah.
and got the late turnover at the end? So it could be some
Yeah,
crazy
I mean
shit. You
that's what I'm
never.
saying. Like crazy shit can happen, and I expect it to. But yeah, I guess that's a good discussion. I'm glad we kind of hashed that out.
You
So
had to.
let's go to this next
It's
one.
the Big Four.
This is
We
these are
had to.
so now that we've covered the playoff games, let's cover the last two games of the season before the national championship, and these two are going to be big. Um, so the first one I want to talk about is Tulane versus USC. Um, the spread on this game is
Don't get me into this shit.
the spread on this
Don't
game
get me into this
is
shit.
so the spread on this game is still USC by 2, right? They think it's going to be super close, and I'm sorry, but as much as I love Tulane and their quarterback and what they've done as a team this season, I got to roll with the Trojans, man. I mean, -2, give me that all day. I have USC minus the 2, and I think you do too, and I think we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get way too into it, and just gonna say ditto. And if you want to hear me my rant, I believe I ranted in the last episode. If not, the one before that
Yeah, it was
about this
two
exact mo-
episodes ago. Yeah,
Yeah,
episode
if you want
15.
to hear what I have to say, go back 2 episodes and fast forward to the end whenever we go over the bowl games, and you can hear my rant on that. And ditto. And next.
Yeah, next. All right, so this is the granddaddy of them all. Utah is going to get a second chance to try to win a Rose Bowl. This time a little bit easier of an opponent, I would think, than Ohio State. They got Penn State. Now, Utah is only favored by 2 points. All the starters are playing for Utah. Nobody's sitting out. Same with Penn State. I don't think
That's a
anybody's
good
sitting out
team. That's a good team
for
right
Penn
there. I got to
State.
go Utah.
I'm picking Utah as well. I think that Penn State
Have
is
to.
I think Penn State's a decent team. They're not a joke. They're number 11 in the country for a reason. Their only
They're no
losses,
slouch. Yeah,
yeah,
they're no slouch.
the only losses this season they have are to Michigan and Ohio State. You can't really blame them for losing to two teams that are in
Yeah,
the playoff, so they're not garbage. But
yeah,
those games did not go well for them. Michigan beat them 41-17, and Ohio State beat them 44-31. These games were
yeah.
not close. And so I think that that's kind of scary for Penn State fans because it kind of all relies on how well that offense plays. And they've got playmakers for sure, but I think Utah is just kind of bred to really run with teams, and Penn State is more of I wouldn't say a low scoring offense because they've averaged like 30 something points a game, but I mean I think this one could be back and forth. I think the
What's the
2 point
spread on this one?
only two Utah by 2.
Utah. Okay, yeah, okay.
So I mean
Yep.
I think Utah winning by a field goal or winning by a touchdown completely possible. Could Penn State pull this out? Obviously, anything can happen. But I would definitely lean towards Utah on this one.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Utah's for real, man. Their defense is crazy, and coming off that big Pac-12 win, with a great game they played against USC. I think there's nothing to say but Utah here, and then the spread. And like we were saying earlier, Penn State is no slouch here. They're going to keep this close. It's going to be a close football game. But I think Utah has those special plays, either late or maybe early, and I think they just stay a little bit on top. So I like that 2 point spread there. But this game's going to be close. Definitely mark my words on that one. This game is close.
Yeah, 100%.
Another good matchup that I actually do like.
Yeah.
That the committee pulled out.
Yeah, and that's a 5 Eastern 4 o'clock kick.
Man, fuck.
On January 2nd. So
I'm going into work at 3.
yeah, so rough on a Monday. So yeah, Monday games.
Oh, I'm off.
Yeah.
I'm off on Monday.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, me too.
Let's go.
I'm off Monday, so I'll get to watch the USC Tulane, Illinois, Mississippi State, Purdue and LSU, and Utah and Penn State to finish the non-playoff team bowls. So let's get into the last 2 topics I've got today. Let's head over to the magical portal. Let's head over to the portal. So
step in the magical portal, sir.
Yeah, stepping into the magical portal. Big news dropping today. Sam Hartman, quarterback for Wake Forest, who was a Heisman candidate preseason, is transferring to Notre Dame. So Notre Dame is getting their quarterback. They're getting a good quarterback, and
really, he's going there.
Yeah, he's going to Notre Dame.
100%. He just announced that.
100% committed.
That was today.
It had to have been today. Yeah, I would think today.
Wow. That was whose quarterback?
It was Wake Forest's quarterback.
Wow, nice.
And he had a great year. The team
he's a good quarterback. Nice.
Yeah, so Notre Dame got a big one there. So hats off to Marcus Freeman. We didn't talk about.
They won today.
Yeah,
congrats.
And they won. Yeah, congrats to him. He wasn't there, but congrats to him on his team starting off on a good foot with him officially on the team. Hudson Card, we didn't talk about this. He's going to Purdue. The Texas quarterback that started in Quinn Ewer's health absence.
It's a nice little career. Plays in Texas, starts a few seasons, transfers to Purdue. Like, that's a nice storyline.
He's gonna. I think that's a good get for Purdue. I think he's a solid quarterback. He's not gonna.
Oh yeah, definitely.
He's not gonna amaze you, but he is a good game manager.
Solid quarterback.
Yeah, I think it's an improvement for Purdue at the quarterback position.
Honestly. He was a good little quarterback at Texas.
Yeah, I agree. I have no disagreeing with that ever. Not amazing, but better than anything Purdue's had in quite a few years.
He started like 2 seasons.
Yeah, only an injury. I
mean, that it was injury, but the year before that, they gave him the start above Casey Thompson.
We did.
And that's you from whatever you work, you like coaches obviously see the players on the team, but he had to have been putting in work because you only get named the starter if they think you're the true leader of the team. So that means Hudson Card was going very hard in the offseason and even into the beginning of the season and like the preseason and the summer training camps. So that just shows you what type of guy he is. Like the fact that he was named the starter of the Texas University shows he was putting in a lot of work in the offseason and during the preseason he was doing good too. So
Yeah, and
Purdue's got a good quarterback coming for sure.
yeah, so we talked about Nick Evers going to Wisconsin last episode. Well, guess who's joining him? It's Tanner Mordecai. Another OU quarterback is going to
And
join
where they headed?
Wisconsin. So both of them are headed to Wisconsin.
Oh,
So we will have a former OU quarterback battle in the offseason between Nick Evers and Tanner Mordecai, who Tanner Mordecai had 10 touchdowns in a game this
that's
season
funny. They're
for
both
SMU.
going there. They're like,
Yep.
they're both like, I'm better than you. They're both thinking that.
Yeah. So, and of course, all of Wisconsin's quarterbacks, except for the one you saw play against OSU, are transferring. Um, and you already know Mertz is going to Florida. The
And who's the OSU getting?
OSU hasn't gotten anybody yet.
I thought they got a guy signed or something. I might have misread it.
Not that I know of. I'm still looking here.
Spencer Sanders pranks. He's coming back.
Yeah, I mean he hasn't made a decision yet.
What if he was like, I'm coming back to Stillwater?
I mean,
Would you be salty or like, damn?
No, I think it would be good for OSU because I don't know what they've got at the quarterback position right now. They're hoping for probably somebody in the portal to make that decision for them. So another person to look at, we didn't really talk about Keaton Slovis, right? So Keaton Slovis, he transferred from USC to Pittsburgh once Caleb Williams announced that he was going to USC because he knew he couldn't beat him out. Well, now Keaton Slovis is taking his talents to Brigham Young. He's going to be BYU's quarterback next season. So kind of a lateral move.
Player.
Yeah, it's kind of a lateral move for him. Doesn't really tickle my fancy too much, but it's a good fit, I think.
Rumor. This is just a rumor. Zach Wilson told him he could slay some moms and
There you go.
at BYU. He said that he was slaying a bunch of moms, and he's like, if you come here, you can slay a lot of moms too. So that's the rumor I've heard on the street. I don't know if how true that is, so don't take my word on it. But supposedly, if you go to BYU, Zach Wilson can help you slay some moms. So if that's what you're into, commit to BYU.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. As far as like running backs go, not really a lot of stuff moving around. A lot of uncommitted guys. Wide receiver wise, yeah, still not a lot of big names going anywhere. Trayshawn Holden, we talked about last week. The Alabama transfer commits to Oregon. Another Alabama guy, JoJo Earl, he commits to TCU.
Shit, I'd go to TCU.
Yeah, I mean, Theo Weiss. I didn't know if you heard this.
Missouri.
Yeah, he's going to Missouri. So
he's gonna be a factor there, and that guy is gonna start, and we're gonna be having a lot of or at least OU if he's still in the conference. OU is gonna have problems with that guy. He's gonna give everybody problems. So just stay tuned for that guy. I know he's gonna be a good one.
Yeah. Offensive line, defensive line. OU kind of picked up some good defensive linemen in the portal. We talked about that last week. But not a lot of news really other than those few. DJ Uiagalelei, he's going to Oregon State. We said he was going to Hawaii because that's where they projected him last week, but he made the flip and is going to be a Beaver, which improves their quarterback position by quite a bit because he is above average. And Oregon State has not had an above-average quarterback in quite some time, so it's good for them. I think it's good for the conference as a whole, and I think Oregon State will remain competitive like they were this last season.
Yeah, so he figured out that Hawaii was going to be ass, and he was like, oh, shit, I can't go here, so let me go to a school that I can actually maybe win at, because he realized if he was actually going to go to Hawaii, that he was going to be staying in Hawaii, because nobody was going to want him after that.
Yeah, no one wants to stay up till 2 a.m. to watch your games, anyways. Um, um, Another one
2
that,
a.m. special Hawaii. Yes.
yeah, another big one that we kind of didn't talk about was Luke Altmaier, the former Ole Miss quarterback. He's going to go to Illinois. He's transferring there. Of course, Jackson Dart has the starting job for Ole Miss. So Luke Altmaier is going somewhere where he can get some playing time, and Illinois is definitely that place. So you have Illinois with a new quarterback. You have Wisconsin with two new former OU quarterbacks. You got Purdue with Hudson Card going there. A lot of big names in the Big Ten that I'll be interested to look at next season, and will definitely kind of impact where those teams fall at the end of the year for sure.
I'm gonna have to jump in the transfer portal myself. I wanna go to TCU.
Hey, I don't blame you. Um,
Their uniforms are so
oh,
sexy.
they're
That
so
all white dude. Oh
oof,
my
icy.
gosh.
It's icy.
I would
Um,
be so clean if I played for TCU.
oh yeah,
Like I would be
absolutely.
like, bro, you have to come to the game. Like I'm gonna be so fresh. I might not play much, but I'm gonna be fresh as fuck on the sidelines.
That's right, brother. It's all about looking good. Um, so like I mean, look, we have a ton of players that just haven't decided where they're going to go yet. We'll keep an eye on this. We'll keep you updated, but those are our updates as far as the portal is concerned to this point. So let's get into the last thing we're going to do today, locks
Locks,
of the week.
lockers,
So, um,
lock.
it was an abysmal weekend for Cole as he went 2-1, and two of his picks
Too
probably
bad.
should have came out on top, but they did
Not
not.
too bad.
Um, so
Two and one. Not too bad.
yeah, 1-2. Sorry, 1-2. Sorry.
Ouch! I thought I
Yeah,
was 2 and 1.
yeah.
Fuck.
So
Well,
Cole had
let me
Phil.
take that back. Let me take that back. Ouch! Ouch!
so
Ouch!
Cole had Philadelphia plus the 4.5 against
And
Dallas.
what happened?
So that game, it wasn't as bad as you thought it was. Look, we had Gardner Minshew starting, for Philadelphia, and Dallas was down 10-0 early, and it looked like
Yeah,
you were going to be right, and then Dallas storms back and wins the game 40-34. So Philadelphia does not cover the 4.5. Dallas gets the cover, and then this was the one that was kind of the shocker: Houston versus Tennessee. Right, the Titans, they tried out Malik Willis, who was great at Liberty, great quarterback prospect, but they don't have a lot of weapons around him, and the offensive line is kind of eh. And so it kind of, reared its ugly head. Derrick Henry ran for 126 yards, was not enough, and Houston, it gets the upset win, 19-14, and gets their second win of the season against the Tennessee Titans, who are just spiraling towards their fans not even wanting them to be in the playoffs because they don't want to get blown out by 30.
Derek Curry got injured, right?
Late, late. Still had 126 yards on the ground. Was effective for most of that game, and Houston kind of got lucky there at the end. The one game you did hit on was your Bills. The Bills blow out Chicago 35-13. They were only an eight
Yeah,
point favorite. It was kind of a gimme, and you took it to the bank. So congratulations
I
on
had
that
to.
one.
With those other horrendous losses, I had to take that one to the bank.
Yeah, so me on the other hand, I had some squeakers here. So I picked New Orleans to cover the 3 points against Cleveland. They got that done. They win by 7,
Squeaker.
17 to 10. Um, Deshaun Watson throws for 135 yards. Amari Cooper had 72 receiving yards, and Nick Chubb had 92 rushing yards. So no Saints players led in any offensive statistical category, and they get the win 17-10. So
Yeah,
just kind of a collapse there. So I got that one. Then I picked I picked Tampa Bay to cover against Arizona because Arizona was going to be playing with their backup quarterback. They signed Trace McSorley to come in and play backup because they didn't like what they saw with Colt McCoy.
yeah.
And I said, well, if it's Colt McCoy versus Tom Brady, give me Tom Brady. Well, it was Trace McSorley, and Arizona hung in there, and it took overtime for Tom Brady to get the win for Tampa Bay. They win 19-16 on a field goal, but they were favored by 7.5, so they do not cover, and I lost that game. And then this was the one that a lot of people didn't agree with me with. It was the Packers +4 against Miami on Christmas Day. I said, look, I don't like the way Tua's playing. I kind of think this is prime for Aaron Rodgers to come down to Miami and steal it. and they did. They win 26-20. It was snowing in Miami before that game for about 15 minutes. It was snowing, as it was 30 something degrees about 2 hours before kickoff, and then it got up to 45 degrees down there in Miami. But that was the first. That was only the second time it had snowed in Miami in 200 years. So I kind
That's
of took that as a
easy.
good omen for Aaron Rodgers in the pack. I end up going 2-1. So on the year, I am 19-20, and Cole is 16-23. So, um,
Ouchie.
we got you got some work to do. Let me give you the games this week, and we'll get you started. So tomorrow, we do have games tomorrow. If you
Can I throw
aren't,
Alabama on my log, please?
um, so once again, just like last week, the NFL is going to do a lot of Saturday games because Sunday is a holiday. So they are wanting the players to be mainly off. So here are some of the lines I'll give you. Right now, the Giants are favored by 5.5 over the Colts. Um, the Eagles are favored by 5.5 over the Saints. The Chiefs are favored by 12.5 over the Broncos.
Oh, I gotta take that.
So, and if you remember last time,
I
the
have to
the
take that.
Broncos actually almost won the game last time in Kansas City. This one is going to be up in Mile High.
Yeah,
Um,
no, the Chiefs are smoking that Bronco
okay,
pack.
Kansas City Chiefs minus the 12.5 versus Denver is his first lock. Um, let's see.
Bama, lock number 2, please.
I've got you want Bama as your second lock? Okay, I'll give you Bama.
Yes, please. Thank you, sir.
Bama minus the 4.5. And then your third one will go back to the
Back to
NFL
the league.
here. What?
Okay, okay. Back to the
Um,
league for the third pick.
so you have Detroit -6 against the Bears. Got Tampa Bay -4 against the Panthers. You got
Ooh, I want to take that because that the Panthers have been so sorry this year,
they ran for like 9,000 yards um last
and they lost
weekend.
McCaffrey. So
Yeah, but what was that stat I was seeing? Yeah, they played Detroit, and Deontay Foreman for the Panthers had 165 yards on the ground, and they just ran all over Detroit. I don't know how good um, Tampa Bay's defense is this season, but I mean that's definitely one to look at if you want to take that one. Let's see, what else do I have here? I have the Falcons favored by 5.5 against the Cardinals. Um, I've got the 49ers favored by 9 against Jarrett Stidham and the Raiders. Derek Carr benched this week, so we will see Jarrett Stidham, former West Virginia quarterback. And
nice.
I mean, I don't even know if Devontae Adams is going to play either. So
Yeah, I have no clue.
that could be Brock Purdy's game to lose. The Packers are favored by 3 against the Vikings. I don't really like that one. The Steelers are favored by the Ravens are favored by 2.5 against the Steelers, and the
Okay.
Jets are favored by 2 against the Seahawks, and the Commanders are favored by 2.5 against the Browns,
The Commanders.
and the
Yeah,
Jag.
I wanna go with that. Probably that pick from. It's, it's hard to say. I'll probably take the Raiders pick.
Okay, so take the 49ers minus the 9.
Yeah.
49ers minus 9 versus Vegas. All right. So here are my 3 that I'm picking. I'm going to go the Jaguars -3 against Houston. I think Trevor Lawrence is playing pretty well, so I'll give them that dub. I will also take. I'll take. Man, these lines are kind of ass to be. Give me the Seahawks plus the 2 against the Jets. I think the Jets are kind of spiraling. I know Mike White comes back this week, but give me Geno Smith and the Seahawks. And then for my last pick, we'll go with college football. Give me USC minus the 2 versus Tulane. Give me that one. So
Okay, fair enough.
I'll take those three, and those will be locks of the week. Good episode, a quick one.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Uh, no, sir. I think we covered everything.
All right. Well, for Cole Murphy, I'm Will
Yes,
Warner,
sir.
and keep your stick on the ice.